Hi everyone, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. Robert Redford has left us at the age of 89. And so this is my tribute video to one of the greats, a movie star of the highest order, an actor, a director, founder of the Sundance Film Festival, an activist. I mean, this man's life was extraordinary beyond just the acting, right? I mean, his Oscar win is in Best Director for Ordinary People. So it seems almost like not enough to just talk about the performances when it comes to Robert Redford. But boy, when we think about this man, we think of some truly exceptional performances in some of the most iconic films ever made. Many in the 1970s, my favorite decade of cinema. So it was hard to whittle this down to 10 titles. I had at least 20, and I was like, what are my 10 favorite performances of his? What did he really knock out of the park? Let's start with number 10, The Old Man and the Gun.
You crying? Don't cry. What are you crying for?
It's just my first day.
Well, there's always a first time for everything, isn't there?
So we begin with his final lead performance in a movie, and I don't know if this would be on everyone's list of the top 10 performances of Robert Redford, but I was really taken with his performance in this film, 2018. It's such a deeply complex, quirky performance. He gets to act alongside the great Sissy Spacek. The movie gives him moments of drama, moments of humor, a lot to play with in that movie. And I remember around that time him announcing his retirement from acting. And then I saw the film and I said, well, makes sense. Best to go out on a high note. Many great actors have a really terrible last major film performance. Robert Redford was not one of them. The Old Man and the Gun is really great, a very compelling watch. It kind of feels like a movie of previous eras, the 70s even maybe. It's more focused on character than it is on plots, and I love that about it. It didn't really go anywhere, it didn't do well at the box office or come award season or anything. But The Old Man and the Gun, to see a really fantastic late stage Robert Redford performance, this is one of the good ones. Number 9, 3 Days of the Condor.
I work for the CIA. I am not a spy. I just read books.
So you're going to hear a lot about films made in the 1970s in this video. That was Robert Redford's decade. He does good work in the 80s and 90s and beyond, but the 1970s, holy frickin' cow. It's just one great movie after another from Redford, starting at the very beginning of the decade all the way to the end. He's doing his best work throughout those years. 3 Days of the Condor is a fantastic film. A spy movie. Faye Dunaway is the female lead. Sidney Pollack directed it. 50 years old, it came out in 1975. It has not lost any of its power. It's just one of those great kind of spy thrillers of the era. Maybe not one of the most famous. It's maybe not everyone's first thought when they think about Robert Redford and that era maybe. But it's really exciting, very fresh screenplay, directing, very unpredictable, and he gives a dynamite performance in that. I had to include 3 Days of the Condor on this list. Number 8, Out of Africa.
He prayeth well, who loveth well, both man and bird and beast.
So in terms of the acting work he did in the 1980s, I do think this is the best one. I mean, some people might argue, well, Meryl Streep is doing the better performance in that film over Redford. You could argue that. But I think he's also excellent in that too. He's got a really great character, a nice arc, wonderful chemistry with Streep. Redford, of course, had a lot of amazing leading ladies throughout the years, and one of the best is Streep and their relationship in the film. It always feels very natural and the way it progresses, and it's a beautiful film through and through. It won the Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director, and I know some people might not love that movie. Some might think it's not one of the finest Best Picture Oscar winners of that decade. It's not a perfect film, but I really like that one. I really love Streep and Redford in it, so that also is on this list. Number 7, The Way We Were.
Your girl is lovely, Hubble. Why don't you bring her for a drink when you come?
I can't.
So another romantic drama, another fantastic leading lady, Barbra Streisand. I mean, it might be the most palpable romantic chemistry, like between Redford and another person, like The Way We Were. Again, kind of like Out of Africa. I don't think it's a perfect film. It's a little long. Not everything is amazing in that. I know it's like really special in the hearts for people who grew up around that time and saw it. When they think about Robert Redford, they might go to The Way We Were first. I mean, I'm not one of those people. I wouldn't have it in the top 5. But he is wonderful in that. I love his moments with Barbra Streisand all the way to that moving ending. Their chemistry is off the charts in that, and it's a very entertaining film. If you haven't seen The Way We Were in a while, check it out. Number 6, Jeremiah Johnson.
Good water. Not much wind. This would be a good place to live.
So many of Robert Redford's films, he's like one of 2 people, right? Whether it's a female leading lady, whether it's Paul Newman, usually he's like one of 2 or in a big ensemble. Only rarely is he like the star, like the main focus of the film. One of those examples is 1972's Jeremiah Johnson, which is a film I discovered in middle school. My history teacher put it on near the end of the year, and I was engrossed in every frame of that thing. I loved it. I've seen it many times throughout the years. Jeremiah Johnson, also directed by Sidney Pollack, right? They work together a lot. Like, he really liked Robert Redford, and it's easy to see why, because you can have him on the screen for long stretches of time, not saying very much, not with other actors on the screen, and you are captivated in the audience. Jeremiah Johnson is one of the great examples of that. I think he is wonderful in that movie. It's a terrific and memorable outdoors film. Like, the location filming in that, the cinematography is so special, and his performance in that movie is one of the greats. Number 5, All Is Lost. I don't know about you, but this movie destroyed me. I thought it was so brilliant. I thought Robert Redford deserved an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. He got in at the Globes, and then I think that was it. I don't think he got nominated anywhere else, and I was really bummed by that. I still remember seeing this movie opening weekend in a theater. And at the very end, I won't give it away if you haven't seen it, it's got a very moving final 2-3 minutes, and I was crying so hard. His performance in this film is extraordinary, and I feel like nobody talks about All Is Lost anymore. It came out in 2013. It came out right around the same time as Gravity, which is also like a one-person show, but in that case, it's Sandra Bullock, and in space, All Is Lost is Robert Redford on the open waters. And like, there's almost no dialogue in the whole film. You are just with him on a boat in the ocean. Things take a turn for the worst, and he has to do whatever he can to survive. And to just watch Redford sit and think and reflect and do whatever he can to stay alive, it's just such a great film. It was in my top 5 films of 2013. I loved it that much. And so I'm very happy in this video here today to tell you all, if you haven't seen All Is Lost, this is one of the all-time amazing Robert Redford performances. Do yourself a favor and check it out. It is quite something. Number 4, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Then you jump first. No, I said. What's the matter with you? I can't swim!
So now we arrive at the 4 like huge iconic films and performances he's in. I can't imagine too many people will like fight against me here with my choices in the top 4. I mean, number 1, I'll be curious to see if others agree with me on, but yeah, these are the big ones now we're talking about. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 1969, boy. So I saw this one at a young age, and I really loved it. I didn't know anything about Robert Redford or Paul Newman. I just watched it as a story unfolding, and I was super into it. Obviously, those two have amazing chemistry. It surprises me to this day they only made 2 films together. You'd think Redford and Newman would have made like 5. Like, into the 80s and 90s, you'd think they would have like collaborated more. They are so great on screen, very funny together, also very moving, especially toward the end. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid has some dated elements to it, like that song, right? You know, I can't say I put on that song very often these days, but there's so much to love about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, from the cinematography and the editing and the sound work, that incredible direction by George Roy Hill, that screenplay by William Goldman. So many great aspects of that film. At the heart of it, of course, is the relationship between Robert Redford and Paul Newman. And I know they go on to make one more film together, which I'll talk about in like 10 seconds here, or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, if you love those two, and especially together, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is a masterpiece for the ages. Number 3, The Sting.
You're right, Henry. It's not enough. It's close.
So here we arrive to another George Roy Hill film starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford together again. Another period film, like very fun and entertaining. This is also the only time in his entire career, it's crazy, right, that Robert Redford got an Oscar nomination for acting. I just think what Robert Redford is doing in this movie is frickin' fantastic. This is one of his all-time great movie star roles. He immerses himself in that character. He really gets lost in who he is and in that story and that time period. He really gives it everything he has. And he's so charismatic, I mean, in everything he does, but especially in The Sting. I just think this is one of his best film performances. I'm so happy the Academy recognized that. And just like once you get toward the end, you figure out like the big con of the story and everything that's gone into it. Like the ending of that movie is very memorable. It's so fantastic. And again, watching Paul Newman and Robert Redford together on screen, they just create magic. It is so much fun and entertaining all the way through. I really wish those two had made a few more films together. Number 2, All the President's Men.
If you're gonna do it right. Here are my notes. If you're gonna hype it with the facts. I don't mind what you did. I mind the way you did it.
One of the great films of all time. This movie means so much to me. I watch it every few years. It's just one of the most captivating movies ever made. I love everything about it. There's nothing I would change. I think casting Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman was a masterstroke for that one. I think if either one of those characters had been played by a different actor, it might still have been really great, but it wouldn't have been as iconic, as perfect, with anyone but Redford and Hoffman, who are electric together. They also make magic in this. And it's just such a compelling story all the way through, of course, a real life story. And then you see all of the developments in the story as it plays out. For those of us who were not alive in the 1970s, the Watergate scandal was such a pivotal moment in American history. And to see it play out almost like a thriller in that film, it's just always a very exciting watch. I discovered that film in high school. I think I watched it in a government class. You know, and there were kids around me not paying attention, you know, talking to their friends and stuff. I was sitting in the middle of that classroom, eyes glued to the screen. I was like, this movie is freaking amazing. I have probably watched it at least 10 times, maybe more. And I might put it on again very soon in memory of the great Robert Redford. I mean, if you want a few runners up, let me throw out a few, right? Barefoot in the Park. I have to mention one film he did with Jane Fonda. That's like one of his early breakout hits, 1967. Very, very funny. You also have Downhill Racer, 1969, which I discovered in the Criterion Collection. He is dynamite in that film. If you haven't seen Downhill Racer, check that out. I have to mention The Natural from 1984. Not one of my favorite Robert Redford movies. I have some issues with that one. But it's very much a movie star performance from him. Like one of the most notable, I'd say. And he has wonderful chemistry with Glenn Close in that. So that's a runner-up. I really like Indecent Proposal. He's kind of the villain in that, in a way. It's not the kind of project he usually starred in, so that was kind of cool. And then finally, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, 2014. That is my favorite Marvel movie, if I had to pick one. And Robert Redford is great in that movie. He's got a really good character. It's a supporting role, but he makes the most of it. and he's a wonderful addition to the cast in that one. So I wanted to mention that as well. What do I think is the finest Robert Redford performance in his long career? My number one choice is The Candidate.
And on election day, we won't run away. Vote once. Vote twice. For Bill McKay.
I love this movie. I think it is so extraordinary, always compelling, a really great script, really good direction, nothing flashy about the cinematography or the editing or anything. But when I was thinking earlier today, like, what is the number one Robert Redford performance? This is the one that came to mind first. Because unlike All the President's Men and The Sting and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, like those three iconic films he's a part of, in the case of The Candidate, it is Robert Redford all the time, kind of like Jeremiah Johnson and All Is Lost, and I do think The Candidate is the strongest of those movies. When it's just the Robert Redford show, when he is the main character and he's not really sharing the film with another person, like another big movie star, I think The Candidate is the best film that showcases everything Robert Redford was great at. He creates a fully developed character, this man running for the US Senate in California, and he hits a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. He gets a lot of pushback from people, but he keeps going anyway. It's a very triumphant performance in that regard, and it's just a great showcase of his movie star charisma. All throughout that film, he just radiates charisma, whether he's alone in the scene, whether he's like interacting with potential voters and the people on his team. Robert Redford has been a part of some truly exceptional films going back decades, but like the best performance he gave, the one that really stands out from the crowd, I do think is The Candidate. If you've never seen it, check it out. If you want more of my thoughts about The Candidate, I had a podcast a few years ago called Film at 50, in which a guest and I would look back on a movie released like 50 years ago. So in 2022, we looked at some films from 1972, and Cody Dericks and I, Cody, who's been a big part of this channel, you probably know him well, we talked about The Candidate for probably 2 hours, and that video is on YouTube. I will link to it in the description below. Robert Redford in The Candidate, 1972. I do think that's his best performance of all time.
Marvin, what do we do now?
Wait a minute, what?
So obviously, I've only scratched the surface when it comes to Robert Redford's career. He was also a producer, a director. His first film as director, Ordinary People, 1980, is a masterpiece, one of the best films of that decade. And he also directed Like a River Runs Through It. He directed Quiz Show. He made some interesting films throughout the decades. He wasn't just an actor. He did so many other things, producing, directing, activist, founding the Sundance Film Festival. I mean, if the only thing he ever did was create the Sundance Film Festival, we would all be talking about him today. Like, that would have been a significant legacy just there. Like, all of the independent films that got to rise in the 80s and 90s and beyond because of Robert Redford and Sundance. I mean, that's a huge part of his legacy as well. So yeah, Robert Redford, 1936 to 2025. We are all thinking about you, thinking about all the amazing films you acted in, that you directed. We're thinking about the Sundance Film Festival. I mean, the stamp that you made in the world of cinema is huge, You were one of the greats, a titan in the industry. So much of what you left us is going to endure for decades to come. And boy, if you are a Robert Redford fan and you haven't seen one of his movies in a while, do yourself a favor and tonight put on a great Robert Redford movie. What a legacy. We are going to miss you, Mr. Redford. Thanks for everything you gave us. We are never going to forget you.